Welcome, students and faculty, to our section of covering the yearly handbook. Please do what you can to pay great attention to the information that I will be sharing with you today. If at any time you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask your advisor to pause the video and ask your question to your advisor, and then the video can resume from there. First and foremost, the main reason that you all are here is that you are students, first and foremost. And one of the great ways to adhere to being a strong student is following the homework policy. Each of your teachers should have shared with you in their course syllabus what the expectations are for homework in each of their courses. If at any time you are struggling with getting homework completed and getting it completed in a timely manner, we will refer each student to Student Support Services, where you can get some additional support from Mrs. Sharp and Mrs. Peterson. They are located in room 405. So moving on to general student conduct. As young adults, we do have high expectations for you, and this applies to every facet of how you conduct yourselves on Atlantic High School grounds or as an Atlantic High School student or participating in any extracurricular activities. We do have several examples listed in our handbook. I will not go through every single expectation, but I am going to go through some of our heavy hitters. First and foremost, our freshmen and new students heard me speak about student driving during freshman orientation, new student orientation at the beginning of school. Please know that procedures for safe operation of vehicles by students on school grounds, you need to know that that access is not unrestricted. We can and will regulate reckless and negligent driving activity which may create danger to persons or property on the school premises. Civil authorities recognize that the jurisdiction of the school district in regulating such actions on its property. Therefore, if there's ever a question, there are times that we will involve law enforcement. Otherwise, there are some consequences for unsafe driving or reckless driving. For instance, our first offense, a student who is driving in such a manner will be barred from driving or parking on school property for a period not to exceed 2 weeks. Again, you need to understand that that is a privilege, not a right. Second offense, the student will be barred from driving or parking on school property for a period not to exceed 6 weeks. Third offense, the student will be barred from driving or parking on school property for a period not less than the remainder of the current school year. Students not complying with any driving sanction will be determined to be insubordinate, which means not respecting the rules or the authority, and the second offense level, and will be required to complete the period of driving restriction. Another situation with vehicles on school property, student parking. Students who plan to drive a vehicle to school are required to register the vehicle in the principal's office. This is those cardstock cards that were given out in seminars. You need to make sure that you have your vehicle registered and that card filed in the office. Any students who illegally park will fall under the following disciplinary action. A first offense earns a student a 45-minute after-school detention and a $10 fine. Second offense is a 45-minute after-school detention as well as a $25 fine. Third offense, removal of parking privileges for the remainder of the semester. Please do your part. We want all of your property to be safe, but again, we are not in control of how you drive your vehicles or how you park your vehicles. I know that you would be upset if your property was damaged. I know I would be upset if my property was damaged. So let's help one another out and take care of it the right way. Again, it's a privilege. It's not a right. So we do expect everyone to adhere to these expectations. If you've had driver's ed, you have been taught how to properly park. We have lines that designate where to park. Make sure that you are parking in the spaces, not in between the lines, not over the lines. Do not park in visitor parking. Please note that all of the parking along the curbs is prohibited. These are our fire lanes and our bus loading zones, so please do not park there. If at any time a student is parked in faculty row or in the south faculty parking lot during school hours, that is strictly prohibited. You will receive a fine as well as detention. Again, in all cases, upon notification, your car must be moved immediately, or we may tow the car at your expense. Excessive show of affection, public displays of affection, that's what we call PDA. Please know that in high school, this is a place of education. Hand holding, not a problem. Any other demonstrations of affection involving physical contact will be considered inappropriate. If a couple refuses to cooperate by conducting themselves in an appropriate manner, I want you to know what steps we take. First offense, we have a conversation. You'll be issued a warning. Second offense will be a 30-minute detention. Third offense or any subsequent offenses, student will receive ISS. We will bring parents in. We will have a conference with Mr. Alexander or myself and the guidance counselor. Attendance. This is one of the key indicators for success at any time of life, whether it's in education or whether it's employment. Please make sure that you have strong attendance. That is a key factor in success. Students, however, who do receive excessive excused absences, please expect that your learning will be affected. Even though work may be made up, there's so much that happens within the class day that you miss some of that key information. Again, anytime that students, parents, or guardians, teachers, or administrators are concerned about a student's attendance, we are going to make sure that we have lines of communication open and that we get proper plans in place. Please know that excused absences apply to the following: illness. Again, that must be accompanied by a note or a phone call from home. If we have medically documented chronic or extended illness, hospitalization or doctor's care or nurse's approval, medical or dental care, death, serious illness, or family emergency in the immediate family or household, suspension from school. Hopefully that does not happen. Religious holidays requiring absence from school, court appearances or other legal proceedings, classes missed because of attendance at a school-sponsored trip or activity. We do offer college visits to our juniors and seniors. Juniors, 2 days per semester. Seniors, 3 days per semester. All right, so let's talk about unexcused absences. Unexcused absences are any absences that do not meet the aforementioned provisions. It is also when we have zero communication from parents or guardians. So, if a student is absent from a class, from a seminar, from a study hall, or from lunch, and it was without parental knowledge or consent, or without conversation or permission from the office, please know that that student will be considered truant. Basically, if a student is truant, here's how that works. First offense, a student will be given 2 periods of in-school suspension for every period of class missed, or every period of time missed. Parents are always notified. Second offense, it goes up to 3 periods of in-school suspension for each period of class missed. Again, parents are always notified. Third through fifth offenses will be 3 periods of in-school suspension. Then there needs to be a conference with students, parents, counselor, and principal. And any subsequent offenses will be another conference, and this will include the county attorney, depending on age, and our superintendent. Excessive absence, any unexcused absent beyond the district limit of 5 unexcused absences per semester. Again, student will be informed by Mrs. Soigling, our attendance secretary, when a student has received a 5th unexcused absence. Once a 6th unexcused absent has occurred, the student's case will be reviewed for consideration of a supportive intervention. Again, absences are always recorded as part of a student's attendance record. Sometimes I am forced to implement this policy. It is not fun, but I want every student to earn a high school diploma. Every student can earn a high school diploma. However, if a student does choose to drop out of school and is not attending another public school or an accredited non-public school, please know that I do contact the Department of Transportation, and this impacts a student's full driver's license. So please know that I do follow through with that every time it happens. Hopefully this is something that will never apply to you, and each of you will earn your high school diplomas. All right, behavior guidelines. Behavior guidelines. Again, these are things that you would think are fairly common sense, but I do feel that we have due diligence to make sure that we are communicating to you what our expectations are. Disrespect and insubordination. A lot of times kids are confused by what that means. Basically, what it is complete disrespect or lack of obeying a school rule, a regulation, or a directive from a school employee. And anybody who works for Atlantic High School, I do not care what position they have, whether they're the principal, whether they are a paraeducator, whether they are an secretary or custodian, classroom teacher, food service. I don't care what role our school employee has. If a student refuses to obey a directive from that school employee, they are considered as being disrespectful and insubordinate. First offense, that employee will send the student to the principal's office with a referral. Classroom educator may assign the student a detention prior to the removal from class. The school employee and student will file an incident report in the office. A conference will be held with the student, teacher, and administrator if it's deemed necessary. Please know that appropriate disciplinary action will be taken. This could be a detention, this could be in-school suspension. Again, anytime discipline is issued, parents are notified. Second offense, that something like this happens, very similar to the above. However, the severity of the infraction will determine the amount of after-school detention, in-school suspension, or out-of-school suspension. Habitual offenders will be referred to the superintendent and or the Board of Education for disciplinary actions. Academic integrity. And integrity is a part of life that each and every one of us should have. It's doing the right thing even when no one is looking. And this applies to academics. However, if a student makes a poor choice and does cheat or plagiarize on a homework assignment, on a test, on a project, on a speech, please know that we do have consequences for those poor choices. If you are unsure what cheating or plagiarism is, take a moment and look it up. Have a conversation with your teacher about it. Please know that plagiarism is pretty well defined. It is not just copying someone else's work word for word. It can also be copying someone else's ideas. It can be copying 3/4 of a sentence and you changing 4 words of the sentence. That is still considered plagiarism. This also applies to if a student allows another student to copy from his or her work. First offense, if this happens, it's loss of all credit on the test, on the paper, the assignment, or the project, whatever the case may be. The teacher will notify the office in writing. I will record this in my files for academic integrity that the offense has occurred. The teacher will also notify a parent or guardian via phone conversation or email. Second offense with the same teacher, suspension from school and or removal from the class for the remainder of the semester with a failing grade. Bottom line, guys, do your own work, put the hard work into it, earn the grades that you get. If you have any question at any time if something might be plagiarized, please ask us. We want to make sure that we clarify for you what that looks like. Along with academic integrity, we have theft of academic materials. Again, please know that this is included but not limited to a theft of a test or an answer key from a classroom or teacher workstation or use of a stolen document. First offense is a suspension from school and removal from the class for the remainder of the semester with a failing grade. Again, automatic removal from that class for the semester with a failing grade. Second offense will be suspension from school with a recommendation for expulsion. All right, tobacco. Please know that we are public property and all Atlantic Community Schools campuses and vehicles are tobacco free. So, if a student is observed by school personnel possessing, using tobacco, whether it's chewing tobacco or a lighted cigarette, a cigar, a pipe, a vapor product in his or her hand or mouth, or is seen emitting smoke from their nose or mouth on school property, including school buildings, school grounds, on school transportation vehicles, or at any school activity, is punishable as follows. Student will be given a 3-day in-school or out-of-school suspension. Parent and legal authorities will be notified. If you are a minor, you will be issued a minor in possession of tobacco ticket. Second offense, student will be given a 5-day out-of-school suspension or in-school suspension, or it could be a combination of both. Again, parent and legal authorities are notified. You will remain in suspension until a conference is held with student, parent, and the principal. Third offense, please know it goes directly to the Board of Education for disciplinary action. Parent and legal authorities are always notified. Drugs and alcohol. A student who is observed by school personnel to have the odor of alcohol, beer, or drugs on breath, or whose behavior is not normal, or who exchanges alcoholic liquor, beer, drugs, or is found to have alcoholic liquor, beer, or drugs in their possession, is punishable as follows. First offense, student will be given a 5-day out-of-school suspension. Parent will be notified. Student will remain in suspension until a conference is held with student, parent, and the principal. Proper legal authorities will be notified if any student or students are in possession of drug paraphernalia or any type of controlled substance. Please know that students may be referred directly to the Board of Education. Second offense is an automatic referral to the Board of Education for disciplinary action, and a student may be referred to a special services committee. Again, at any time, law enforcement is always involved. Theft. And this is one of those areas that I'm going to talk a little bit about and how much control you have on protecting your property. A student who unlawfully takes and carries away any school property or property of another is punishable as follows. First offense, 5-day in-school suspension. Parent will be notified. Student will remain in suspension until a conference is held with student, parent, and myself. Legal action may be taken and restitution required. Student may refer directly to the Board of Education. The student will be given a 2-day in-school suspension if restitution is made within 24 hours. If there is a second offense, it will automatically go to our Board of Education for disciplinary action. Guys, you are all issued a school locker. That locks as long as you don't jam it or try and get it into a way where it can be unlocked at all times. You are also issued padlocks for the locker rooms. If you choose not to use these areas of automatic security for your personal belongings, then you are taking a chance. At any time that you are unsure if your items will be safe at school, don't bring it. Don't bring large sums of money. Don't bring devices or things that you are concerned that somebody might walk away with. If we can't prove the theft happened, it's very unfortunate, and you lose out on your property. So do what you can to secure your property. Harassment, which has a specific code within our handbook. Please know that harassment of students by other students is not going to be tolerated in our school district. The policy has been in effect while students are on school grounds, school district property, or on property within the jurisdiction of the school district. While on school-owned and or school-operated buses, vehicles, or chartered buses, while attending or engaged in school activities, and while away from school grounds if the misconduct directly affects the good order, efficient management, and welfare of the school district. Please know that harassment prohibited by the district includes, but is not limited to, harassment on the basis of race, gender, creed, color, national origin, religion, sexual orientation, marital status, or disability. Students whose behavior is found to be in violation of this policy will be subject to the investigation procedure, which may result in discipline up to and including suspension and expulsion. I want every student at Atlantic High School to feel comfortable and to feel a part of the school. The way you treat one another is a direct reflection of that. Please do good and do no harm. Which takes me right into our next section, and it's a section that is always very difficult. Please know that if a fight does occur where there's physical altercation, hitting, pushing, kicking, whatever the situation may be, and it's exchanged by 2 or more students on school property, this is school buildings, school grounds, school transportation, school activity, here's how it is punishable. First offense could be an in-school suspension or an out-of-school suspension, and this will follow an administrative investigation. Parents, again, are always notified. Student will remain in suspension until a conference is held with student, parents, and administrators. In case of physical assault, legal action may be taken. Student may be referred directly to the Board of Education. For a second offense, students may be given in-school or out-of-school suspension until a conference is held with student, parents, and administrator. The administrator shall determine the length of the suspension for the involved student. Repeated offenders will be referred to the Board of Education for disciplinary action. Please know that fighting and instances of fighting do not start over year to year. They are over the course of the time that you are an Atlantic High School student. Again, this is something that goes while you are an Atlantic High School student. Please know that I will involve law enforcement as necessary. Bystanders can also be included in potential disciplinary action based on Iowa code. So please know that those are the steps that I take. If you have an issue and you are concerned that it's going to escalate to this, then please tell an adult who can help problem solve the situation. Not sure if you kept up with the news this summer or not, but there was a lot of discussion regarding electronic devices and cell phones and the policy that should or should not be in place at Atlantic High School. Our policy has not changed. However, your adherence to this policy must be followed. It must be followed by students and it must be followed by faculty and staff. Please know, you are allowed to use cell phones before and after school, during lunchtime, and during passing times. At no time are cell phones allowed in a restroom area, locker room, not allowed. If a student is using these types of devices during class time and it's without teacher permission, they will be confiscated. So again, if it's in a class time and it's without teacher permission, these will be confiscated. All of your educators were to share with you exactly what their policy regarding electronic devices and cell phones would be. If an educator is not allowing them in their classroom, that educator will take the cell phone or the electronic device, turn it into the office. The office will return it at the end of a day. Second offense, it comes to the office, a parent or guardian must pick it up. Third offense and all others becomes a day of in-school suspension. Again, the district assumes no liability for the loss or damage of any device confiscated. Exceptions to the prohibitions set forth in this policy may be made for health, safety, or emergency reasons with prior approval of the building principal, myself, or my designee. So again, please make sure that you do a great job and follow the policy. Detention. Detention has been a part of our school district for quite some time. Please know that any school personnel can issue a detention to a student for misconduct. If a detention is assigned, the student will be required to serve that predetermined amount outside of the school day. It's either immediately after school or it's the following morning. If a student fails to serve their detention, they will be given a full day of in-school suspension. Again, parents are always notified. The detention room is in the media center. It is a place of quiet study, and students are expected to bring any educational materials to detention that will help keep them busy. So any textbooks, any homework, any studying for tests, please make sure you bring materials with you so your time is not lost and you can be using some strong time for academics. There is to be no food, no pop, no gum, and no sleeping in detention. Any student who arrives unprepared, violates the detention room rules, or who arrives late for the assigned session may be assigned additional detentions. So please know that it is your responsibility. Another portion that is part of your responsibility is taking care of your own transportation to and from school so your detention can be served. The purpose of in-school suspension is it's a consequence. It's more of a severe consequence for a student for inappropriate behavior. It involves removal from formal classroom, it's isolation from friends during the day, and loss of formal instruction. Students serving a full day of ISS will report to the ISS room, which is the same as the detention room in the media center, at 8 a.m. and will be dismissed at 3:19 p.m. Students are still able to earn credit for tests, quizzes, assignments while in ISS. Students may also be required to complete alternative assignments while in ISS. Please know any student who is assigned a full day of ISS is considered suspended from all school activities for the duration of the suspension. Each suspension day counts as 24 clock hours. Again, you are ineligible for any activities during the next 24-hour time period. Students who violate the rules of ISS may be assigned additional days of ISS or may be recommended for out-of-school suspension or expulsion. Please note conferences involving parents, administrator, and student is optional on the first offense. However, it is required for the second and third offenses, and a student who is assigned ISS for a fourth session during the academic year will be required to attend a conference involving parent, student counselor, administrator, and the superintendent. Again, notification may be given that the next offense may result in a recommendation of expulsion to be made by administration to our Board of Education. The severest consequence is out-of-school suspension, OSS, and this is for flagrant disciplinary situation or is also used as a preventative measure to eliminate the possibility of further school disruption or for student safety. Except for expulsion, out-of-school suspension carries with it the most severe of penalties that a student can receive. Please know that a student who is out of school suspended may be sent home up to 10 days. Parents, again, are always notified. Parents may have to come to the school and pick the child up. A brief conference may take place at this time. Students who are on OSS may not return to campus or school for any reason unless prior arrangements have been made with an administrator and the student is accompanied by a parent. A student on OSS will be given makeup work during their suspension. Makeup work is to be completed during the suspension and returned to the teacher upon their return to class. Exceptions to this must be agreed upon at the time of suspension. Teachers may give alternative assignments and tests apart from the regular class assignments. Teachers may also issue credit for the assignments and tests at a reduced value. Students involved in extracurricular activities on OSS, again, not allowed to participate in those activities during the time of the suspension. This specifically includes practice and or competitions during the time of suspension. Please know in all cases where a student earns OSS, a parent conference will be held to provide for the student's right of due process. And that conference will also take place to reinstate the student to school. All right, school dress and grooming code. And this is something that I always send a couple times over the course of the year. Please know that this is a place of education and that the way a student or an individual presents him or herself is a bearing of how others react to him or her. If a style of dress demonstrates a threat to the safety and health of self of others, it's not going to be permitted in school. So please know that we encourage students to dress in a fashion that reflects good taste and style appropriate for a school day. As individuals' dress and personal appearance and cleanliness, like his or her behavior, should reflect a sensitivity to and respect for others. The fact that the school permits a wide variety of school clothes does not mean that all styles are equally appropriate. Please know that articles and clothing which display indecent pictures or slogans, not allowed. Clothing which permits inappropriate exposure of the body, short shorts, midriff shirts, spaghetti strap tops or dresses, tube tops, or tops revealing undergarments or bare skin are not allowed. So again, tops revealing undergarments or bare skin are not allowed. Tank tops with less than a 2-inch wide strap must be worn with the shirt with sleeves. And one way that we just kind of do a quick check on this is if 3 fingers would cover the strap. Any garment that displays excessive cleavage, this is in the front or the back. Outerwear, so baggy shorts or pants, etc., worn below the waistline, it's not permitted. Outerwear must cover all undergarments. Articles and clothing which could cause damage or injury to other students or disrupt the normal functioning of the school. Bare feet or stocking feet. I know I have addressed this in the first 5 days of school more than I probably did all of last year. You must have shoes on your feet, period. Hats, caps, hoods, and headscarves are not to be worn in school. Any item of clothing that advertises or promotes tobacco, alcohol, or controlled substance, not permitted. Articles and clothing that display double meaning slogans, not permitted. Coats and jackets upon arrival to school should be placed in the student's locker and should not be worn throughout the day unless permission is granted from the nurse or the principal's office. Students inappropriately dressed are required to change their clothing or leave the school. Each of you were giving a passport at opening day seminar. Make sure that you have it. I have been really pleased with the few students that I've encountered in the halls during class time, and they have had their passport. So let's keep that trend going. Educators need to require them. Students need to have them. If during any time of the school day a student needs to leave the building during school hours, you need to stop in the office. You need to talk with Mrs. Soigling, Mrs. Gibson, Mrs. Knuth, Mr. Alexander, myself, and get permission to do so. Talked a little bit about lockers and making sure that you utilize them. Please know that lockers and desks are the property of the school district. I highly encourage every student to utilize their locker to help store their school materials and their personal belongings that are necessary for school. Please know that it is the responsibility of students to keep your lockers clean and undamaged. Any expenses to repair damage done to a student's locker are charged to the student's family. Please know that these are temporarily assigned to individual students, but they are the property, of the school district at all times. You also need to be well aware that I do have the drug dog in our building 1, 2, 3, 4 times a year, and during this time lockers are inspected for the purpose of locating school materials and removing any inappropriate items. Locker inspections without prior notice may be conducted periodically throughout the school year. It is extremely rare that there is any notice except from myself and to Dr. Amstein and law enforcement of when these practices will be in place. So again, drug sniffing dogs may be brought in to search lockers in school grounds, which could include our parking lots. All right. So we are in year 3 of our one-to-one campaign at Atlantic High School with all of your great MacBook Airs. So need to make sure that all educators have delivered the same message and what is permitted and not permitted using your device. Each of you has participated in one-to-one training, so this should not be news to you. Games, movies, any shopping, none of it should happen from 8 a.m. to 3:19. Not during the course of a school day. If at any time one of these devices is being improperly used, these are the consequences. Within a classroom, a child or student will get a warning from the teacher. The second time, you will have your device taken for the remainder of the period. So this is within a class. The third time, that device will be brought to the office at the end of the period. Again, if you decide to argue, you take it to a completely different situation, which then becomes insubordination, and the student, you are to be sent to the office. So I also apply this to unattended devices or devices removed from their protective cases. Educators and students alike who have school-issued devices are to have their devices in their protective cases at all times. When a device is brought to the office, here's how we follow through. The first offense, we record it. We have a conversation with the student. The device is returned at the end of the school day. Second offense, student will lose the laptop for a week. Please know that the device will be wiped clean and the student will lose the semester exam opt-out. Third offense is loss of laptop for a month and the device will be wiped clean. Good conduct and academic eligibility, we have maintained our same policy for the last several years. We do have 3 different categories that increase with the severity of offense and consequences. So bottom line, if anything within our good conduct rule is violated, please know that participation in extracurricular activities will be directly impacted. Again, please refer directly to your handbook as each offense is dependent upon the activity in which a student is participating. Bottom line, folks, I want Atlantic High School to be the best school in Iowa, in the best school in the Midwest. I would take it as far, I want it to be the best school in the nation. But it takes more than just me. It takes the hard work of each and every one of us to make Atlantic High School better than it was today. Each of us has a great big part of that. So, if you want Atlantic High School to be awesome, just like I do your part. Help us work together and make it that way. At this time, I really want to thank each of you for your undivided attention. Again, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to stop and see me, as I will be happy to answer them. Have a great day, Atlantic.